Entrepreneurs aren't born, they are made through failures, breakthroughs, and relentless hustle. Welcome to the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, airing across 185 countries, 26 plus TV networks, 100 plus podcast stations. This is where visionaries share their unfiltered journeys, strategies, and game-changing insights. Your success story starts here. This is more than just a show, it's a movement. Watch, learn, and elevate. So hello and welcome back to the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show, Season 3. This is your host, Rohit Soni, and I'm today with an amazing guest on my show. His name is Rick Bayuk. I'll quickly give you an introduction, but before doing an introduction, I'll always like to start with something that's going to help us elevate and understand what this show is all about. You see, it's not just about how you overcome any addiction. It's about the process. It's about the heartbreak. It's about the ups. It's about the downs that you go through it along with it. It's about those small little moments when you're overcoming something that's holding you back to reach your greatest potential. And what do you talk to yourself about? How do you overcome those problems? How do you overcome those challenges? How do you overcome those negative self-talks? And in saying that, I've seen lots and lots of people, some of my friends even, and I hate to say it, go through it. And the only thing that they can say at the end when they are addicted to something is, I'm trying my best, but trying your best is not going to happen. It's not going to help. You need guidance. You need strategy. You need someone who can help you elevate to the next level. So in saying that, I'd like to introduce you to my guest today. His name is Rick Bayuk. He's a mindset recovery coach, business mentor, and founder of Amplified Mindset Consulting. He helps men in recovery rebuild their identity and self-worth. He works with business owners who want to grow by elevating the person at the center of the business. Rick began his recovery journey in 1990 after attending Hazleton, an experience that became the foundation of his life's work. For the past 30 years, he has built, purchased, and sold multiple companies, giving him first-hand insight of what it takes to lead, grow, and sustain business success. His coaching brings together a real-world business experience with the mindset principles taught by Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale, and other leading thinkers in human potential. He's also the author of Thinking into Recovery. I highly suggest you buy the book. We'll put the link there. A book that bridges traditional 12-step recovery with mindset development, helping individuals replace survival thinking with purpose-driven living. The core of Rick's work is a simple idea. Change the thinker and you change the life. Change the leader and you change the business. So in saying that, I'll welcome to the stage Rick. How are you, my friend?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on today.
Awesome, brother. So Rick, in saying that, although I did your introduction, could you share with us a little bit more about yourself, how you started your journey, what are you doing today, and how you're helping impacting people around the world?
Sure. So a little bit about me. I'm what I call a serial entrepreneur. I've started and sold many businesses over the years, and my journey kind of started back in 1989 when I decided that I didn't want to work for anybody else and just basically started working for myself. But along the way, I started understanding how business went. But also along the way, I had a little bit of an addiction problem that actually took me down right around 1990. And obviously the things that happen in your life happen for a reason. And that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, because once I got out of that, even though I was divorced, I had a 2-year-old child and I didn't really have a job at the time, I knew one thing that was very clear in my life. And that was that I didn't want to be a lousy dad. And ultimately it turned out that I wanted to be a great dad. So like anything else that I teach and the things that I've learned along the way, you got to know where you're going. You know, you always know where you are, but it's important to know where you're going. So the one thing I had going for me was I knew where I wanted to go, and I just wanted to be a great dad. And that kind of led to many other things and opportunities along the way. And then, of course, the mindset stuff sort of came in as well. So it all basically has worked itself in, and I've been able to be very successful in business. I've bought and sold a bunch of businesses, and now I'm really solely concentrating on the coaching and consulting business because there's so many people out there that have been through what I've been through. You know, I'm 35 years clean now, and I have a lot to offer. But when I realized the connection between the mindset side and how we think and how we act and that it really makes a difference, it just became my mission. And that's kind of where I'm at.
And someone like me, I'm pretty inspired by your journey, and it's inspirational things that actually moves us sometimes. And for all our viewers today, Rick, I really want them to dive in and understand who you are, and because I know it's going to change who they are and what they can do with their lives for the rest of the show. So, Rick, so many entrepreneurs today feel overwhelmed, right? Too much to do, too little time, and not enough results. What's really behind that feeling, according to you? Why does that happen? Because you work with a lot of entrepreneurs today.
So I think a lot of that really starts with the perception of it. So when a lot of all the basic premise of all of this is really you are what you think about. So if you're thinking about being overwhelmed, well, guess what? The universe is going to give you more of that, and you're just going to feel overwhelmed, and it's going to feel like there's never enough time. There's going to feel like there's too much to do. And it's really just a simple shift in how you perceive that. I went through it for a very long time, and I would always joke about it that I needed a 36-hour day is really would be work for me. But when I realized that it was about how I was thinking about how I was using my time, how the particular day was going, or being stuck in that worry, doubt, and fear, which again, we are what we think about, it starts to create more of that. It's very hard to get out of it when you're stuck in that. So I think that that's probably the biggest feeling behind it is how you're perceiving it, how you're viewing it, how it matters to you.
Absolutely. And in saying that, Rick, when you were running your own company a few years ago, what made you realize you had become the business instead of running one? Like sometimes we just get in our own way, right? So has that ever happened to you, your journey, your business, your life?
Well, actually, yeah, it really has. So how that happens is when you realize that you're working 8 to 12 hours a day, and then you come home, you eat dinner, you spend a little time with the kids, and 4 or 5 hours more on business, you realize that you are the business, and that the business is really running you. I spent a long time in my life trying to work on a business as opposed to in it, and it's very hard to pull out of that if you're constantly in that and you're constantly thinking about that everything is about you. You're the one that's in charge. Everything falls on you. Waking up in the middle of the night to see what's in the bank account to be ready for the next day. Are you going to make payroll? All of the things. And I realized that I was spending more time on the things that weren't moving the needle. So that was kind of where I realized that it was really running me.
Well, the same happened to me like 7, 8 years ago. I was just doing things for the sake of doing things until I realized, you know what, I gotta change myself. I gotta put this thing aside. And then finally I did it. And those things actually help us, right? And how did that mindset affect your profits, your time, and your team's productivity, Rick?
Well, because I was focused on that lack and limitation and the overwhelming for it, again, going back to thinking about things, you be careful what you think about because it just might happen. I found just more and more of that. I found more of the worry and the doubt and the fear. And I just found more of it. I found more places where customers weren't paying or where I felt like I had to carry the whole load or, it was just always seemed to happen if I stayed in that mind frame of that. It wasn't until I understood how to change that and to get out of that. It's a habit. It's a behavior that is ingrained. Most of our behaviors are automatic. I mean, if we had to actually consciously do everything, including breathing and all these other things, it would be really hard to do. So your brain offloads as much as possible into your subconscious and it becomes an automatic program. Well, that same thing with that lack, limitation, and fear continues to run in the background. And until you could identify it, stop it, and replace it with something else, the faith. And also it helps when you start to understand that you don't have to be the business, that you could start to outsource the things that aren't necessarily moving the financial needle for you. Because as owners and business owners, we basically, spend probably 20% of our time is on the money making things that we do. 80% is just the other stuff that you can learn to delegate. When I realized that I was stressed and overwhelmed was when I really realized I had to make a pivot. And that's kind of where I found the mindset stuff.
And I completely agree with you. Sometimes it's better to delegate than do it your way because then you won't be able to make the money aspect of it, right? Work because the money aspect is what keeps everything going, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. In saying that, Rick, we have to run into a quick break. But for everyone, when we come back, Rick will share with us how everything changed for him with just one big shift. And to learn that big shift, you got to turn in back. So I'll see you right after this quick break.
As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently so that you don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high impact marketing and scroll stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision. Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you.
So hello everyone, welcome back to the Empower Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, and so I'll have my guest back on the stage, Rick. So Rick, before the break, you mentioned a little bit about your journey, but the thing that we really want to know is you mentioned that everything changed when you shifted your mindset. What did that shift look like for you in that moment?
That's a good story. So back in, that was about 2006, I came across a movie called The Secret. It was it's basically a movie about the law of attraction. And that's where I actually came in contact for the first time with my mentor, eventually it'll be my mentor, Bob Proctor. And in that movie, they had this one idea about how if you start to think in a certain way, you can create certain things. And the law of attraction was that you can think about things and create anything in your life. And that really intrigued me. I'm like, that makes sense. That's fun. But more importantly, I sort of started to try it. I said, oh, let me try it as an experiment. And the things that it did in my life were amazing. I started excelling in business. I started acquiring more businesses. I started working on it with my kids, and I found their attitudes changed. And as they grew older and they were looking for jobs, we just applied the simple law of how to think in a certain way to attract what they want and be, it's a little bit more to it about thinking of what you want in detail and then picturing it and then having it basically attracted in your life as energy and vibration goes. That's how it works. But it was something that just was the catalyst for me. It just changed everything. And it was funny thing is it was just one simple principle that years down the road, when I actually found my mentor again several years ago, I realized it was a small piece of it. But here I was taking a small piece of mindset and created amazing success, just that one thing. Funny part is that's actually a secondary law to the law of energy, or law of vibration and the law of attraction. So as you start to learn more, you just get stronger in the tools. But to me, that was really where it all started in it. And it just clicked for me. It resonated so much. Also, if anybody knows that movie, I would suggest you see it.
Absolutely. Big shout out to The Secret and Bob Proctor, the late Bob Proctor. He's done tremendously well for the world, and I really like you to dig into what he did and how he has helped people like me and Rick. How important is it for you, by the way, Rick, and for entrepreneurs to get clear on their ultimate goal before changing their strategy?
So honestly, that is the most important thing. I think the first thing I teach people when I work with them, and I work with one-on-one, sometimes I also work with groups, but the first thing I ask people is, what do you want? And I don't do it on a superficial level. I talk about goals and what do you really want? And I teach what Bob Proctor talked about was the A, B, and C type goal system, because no matter where you're going, whether it's in life or even in business, you have to know two things. You have to know where you are and where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you're going to go, you're just like a rudderless ship on the ocean, and the currents will take you wherever they take you. So it's the most important aspect of it all is you have to know where you're going. And that starts with a worthwhile goal. That's something you want to strive for, get out of your comfort zone for, that excites you and also scares you at the same time. And the most important part is you have no idea how to do it. That's the tricky part. You don't need to know. That's the beauty, because as you get going, it gets presented to you. So I would say that's probably the most important thing. You got to know where you are and where you want to go.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And during my own journey, I have seen like the moment I shifted from I can't or this can be possible to what's the solution to this, lots and lots of things, Rick, started change for me. Things that were usually something I would never even try to do it seemed possible. And that's the power of a shift, right? And in saying that, what were some of the first steps you took once you started thinking differently about your business, and how letting it go and delegating 80% impact your business and life? I believe we shared a little bit on that in the last segment, but would love to take a deeper dive now.
Yeah. So going back to that in a little bit more detail, it's when I felt like I was doing everything, you just get overwhelmed. And then that continues that loop in your head about overwhelm, fear, doubt, all of that. But once I started to decide, to make a decision, great, decided what that goal was. The goal was for me to be working on my business, not in it. So I had to get clear on my 20%. What are the things that I do that move the needle? Where is my money being made and what I do? And my thing was the interaction with customers. So the 80% of the things, which are, the jobs getting done, the stuff being booked, the bookkeeping stuff, the accounting stuff, anything that I wasn't an expert at, I instantly outsourced. And that made every bit of difference, because think about it. Now I've taken 80% off my plate, and I can focus 80% of my energy on that 20% that makes me the money I need, or allows me to grow at the exponential way I was building companies and building them, I was doubling and tripling sales just because of that concept. So that was a huge thing. And what it does, it just creates that space for you now to work in there, but it also ticks that creative side for yourself, because now you're really focused on the things that you know well. And that's where you got to live. That's the difference between a guy who survives in a business and works in his business for a guy who can create a successful business and feel freedom from that.
Absolutely. And freedom is what we really need, right? Freedom is what we strive for. Freedom is what we really require. And in saying that, I want our audience to feel free, right? I want our audience to put some questions in the chat if they need. And what we really want to do is to give them an idea of what their life would look like. To finally take that big step, Rick, towards that courage, the courage to change themselves, the courage to finally be who they truly are, right? Okay. And then you say that entrepreneurs aren't victims, right, Rick? And their circumstances, are not victims of it. They're creators of their reality. What does that mean in practical terms? Have you had any experience on it?
Say that one more time, because it came out a little broken up there.
Okay, so entrepreneurs are victims of their circumstances, right? You said they're creators of their reality. So what does that mean according to you, Rick, in practical terms, like real life?
So with that, basically the idea is that when you become a victim of your circumstance, really means that you're being controlled by the outside influences, whether it's in your life or your business or anything, really. So typically, as human beings, we live through our five senses: what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, we touch. But more importantly, in this day and age, it's news, it's social media, it's our family members. And in business, if we're starting to listen to the outside, that's not where growth comes from. The things that I teach and the things that I've learned are about coming from the tools that are basically our God-given abilities, that there's 6 higher faculties that we have. That one of that we talked about: perception, will, memory, intuition, reason, and imagination. And those are God-given abilities that we have, that we can, when you start to come from those special talents, now all of a sudden you're coming from what really is within you. When you start to go, when we talked about the goal, deciding what your goal is, and when you really decide that, if you're listening to the outside information, you're toast, because everybody's going to tell you you're crazy. Look, when I started in this business, I came from a completely different area, and people knew me as a completely different person. But when I started doing mindset work and coaching and consulting, people that I talked to thought I was nuts. But I knew in my core, deep inside, I knew this was what I wanted. I knew it was my calling because I was connected to it. So I started listening to my intuition. And that's the voice. That's the opposite of that paradigm and that voice in your head. That's where worry, doubt, and fear comes from. When you start listening to that intuition, which is that, some people call it a God voice, your connection with all that is, you start to be led towards what you want. And that voice will never, ever steer you wrong. So once you get to understand it and come from there, everything changes because now you're being led towards it. Again, knowing where you're going is really important because it needs to know where to go. It's just about alignment. All of this is about energy and vibration. And when you're in alignment with what you want, it's coming to you just as quickly. So when you're a victim of your circumstances, you are creating a disconnection from what you really want. And then the path doesn't become clear. It's hard for it to manifest itself when you're not clear on what you want. And when you're a victim of your circumstances, then you're just basically like a ship without a rudder.
I completely agree with you. It's just about going into a direction or circles where you don't know you're actually going, right?
Yeah. And it's really, the other part is focusing on what you want, not what you don't want. A lot of people focus on the negative or what if this happens? What if that happens? And, like anything else, you are what you think about. So if you're thinking about that negative or your predominance of your thoughts is on that, that's where you're going to go.
Absolutely. In saying that, Rick, we got to run into another quick break. But when we come back, we'll talk about the habits and thinking patterns to successful business use to scale their business and their life. And on top of that, how you can directly work with Rick. So see you after this quick break.
As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently so that you don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high-impact marketing and scroll-stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision. Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you.
So hello everyone, welcome back to the Empower Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni. I'll have my guest again on the stage, Rick. So Rick, just share with us how people can work with you. That's been a burning question, how they can contact you, how they can learn from you. So if you can just share a little bit of background and what you're going to do next and how people can connect, that would be awesome.
Sure. So you can contact me through my website, amplifiedmindset.com. You can text me, you can email me. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of me. My direct cell phone number is 203-209-3459. I'm around most every time, obviously US time frame. But really what I'm focusing now is I'm really trying to focus on what I consider a bit of an epidemic in this world, really. But right now I'm focusing on this country is I'm working with men in recovery, and I'm trying to work at the level of where there's a disconnect. So people go into recovery, they go into inpatient recovery, and it's a wonderfully sheltered program that teaches you so much about how to live clean and free and start to understand how, you don't need the substances and you can start to create the life that you're looking for. The problem, the disconnect that I found, and it was from my own experience because I lived it, was that when people leave recovery and they get home, there's a big disconnect. Most programs will give you support in the community that they partnered with. Most programs have an alumni program. Most programs will also then tell you, go to meetings, get a sponsor, work the steps. And that's also really good. And they work. And believe me, that stuff saved my life early on. But there's no real day-to-day program that was created anywhere that would give you the transformation you need and to change the way you think to become something different and to not be that person. Well, that's what I created. I created a program specifically for that. And that's kind of what I'm working with now as one of the other things. I do work with business owners as well as their employees to help increase production, same ideas, programs.
And in saying that, Rick, amazing introduction and amazing program. If you want to learn more about Rick's programs, I'll drop everything in the banner and the chat with all the links to a chat attached on it so that you can connect with Rick immediately. In saying that, Rick, you challenge the idea that working harder leads to success. Why do you believe force actually negates results?
That's a really good thing. And most people don't ask that question. So that's kind of insightful on your part. So what happens is in the mindset field and when you're thinking, force actually is a negative emotion and a negative force. So force, I don't know if you ever heard the term force negates, because you don't necessarily have to work harder. You have to work smarter, right? And I'm sure you've heard that before too, but it's really understanding that less is really more in a lot of this. And a lot of that also comes with just kind of getting out of the way. We tend to get in the way of the progress that we're creating. We overcomplicate it. We overthink it. We don't act in a manner that will help us then, get the results we're looking for. And then we kind of get stuck. And then that's the paralysis by analysis kind of thing too.
Pretty exciting, brother. Pretty exciting. And what's the one belief that entrepreneurs, according to you, should drop immediately, start creating more freedom and profit?
Okay, so the first thing you got to do, you got to make decisions quickly. Far too often people just analyze things and they want to make sure it's the right decision and they want to make sure conditions are perfect, but they're never going to be. That's the trick. So what I teach people, I teach my clients is you got to make a decision. Whether it's whatever it is, you make a decision and you get into action, because the bottom line is to get to where you need to, you got to get moving. And if you make a decision and you get into action and get into direction, if it's not in the right direction, you're in motion, you're moving. You can make a twist. You can change your direction. That's a really important thing that most people overlook.
Absolutely agree with you. And in saying that, like, how can business owners learn to get out of their own way and allow success to happen? Because most of us, we feel like we can do the best, but sometimes when we hire a team, when we delegate, we see things from a perspective. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to grow. So how do you balance everything out like that?
So part of that is also empowering people and giving them the tools to empower it themselves. Most business owners will be like, they will give a command or a delegation. And if it's not done exactly right, they're like, I'll just do it myself. But when we start to teach our people and empower them and allow them to, understand they're going to go in a certain direction, it's about training them for the way that you want it done, the way that you to allow yourself not to do it, you got to be able to teach people how you want it done. So the idea is always being in action and letting people take that rein and move on it. Part of it is developing people that you can trust with that too. That's really important.
I agree with you on that part because it's really important to have that equality with what we're doing every time we step in. It's saying that what does it mean to think in a certain way as you describe, and how can entrepreneurs start doing that today? Like, what does it mean to think in a certain way, like you describe your coaching sessions today?
So we kind of touched on that before. Thinking in a certain way is being deliberate in the way you're thinking and acting, but that comes from those internal higher faculties that we have, because you want to think from that. Your mind has two parts. There's a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, and your conscious mind is your thinking mind. So understanding that you can accept or reject an idea, but once you accept that idea, it goes to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is amoral. Basically means it doesn't know if you're telling it the truth or you're making believe. So once you've accepted the idea, it's going to act on it. And it's going to move towards that. So the idea is when you act in a certain way, you're now telling that subconscious mind, hey, this is where we're going. And the subconscious mind, whether it's from your imagination or something you're really thinking about and feeling, I teach my clients to come from the future version of yourself. The future version of yourself is the person who already has what you're looking for, already in possession of that C-type goal. Because the truth is, if you can believe it or see it, it already exists in some form. That's kind of a law of the universe, really. But once you understand that and get into action towards it, then everything changes. Because again, your subconscious mind only is going to bring you more of what you plant in there. So it's a fertile garden. So again, if you're thinking negative or things aren't going to work, guess what? That's what's going to happen. So if you're thinking in a certain way, it's going to start bringing you towards that. So really, that's kind of the idea of thinking in a certain way, because you want to be in control of your thoughts. Otherwise, your thoughts are going to be in control of you.
I completely agree. And in saying that, like, if we just like there's a line that I read, Rick, that changed how I felt. Like, if you don't fight for your dreams won't fight for you. Very powerful. In a place and in a world where we are all trying our best to do stuff, it's always good to have those lines right with you, so that no matter what life throws at you, challenges throw at you, you just come out with flying colors. And in saying that, we have to run into another quick break, Rick. But when we come back, we will discuss with you a quick rapid fire, and on top of that, how to connect with you. I know we discussed a bit on that, but how to actually work with you, connect, and also the upcoming offers that you have by the end of the year. So I'll share all that with you right out of this quick break. See you on the other side.
As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently, so that you don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high-impact marketing and scroll-stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision. Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to the Empower Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host, Rohit Soni, and today I'll have my guest one last time today, Rick Bayuk, on the stage. It has been an amazing episode, Rick. Now, in saying that, the last thing we want to know from you is, if you could leave entrepreneurs watching today one truth about creating success without burnout, what would that look like? What could that be?
That's a tough one. So one thing, talk about one thing. One thing is to understand that you're always in control. There's never a moment where you're not in control of what you're creating in your life, whether it's success, business, relationships, money. It's all under your control, because when you're thinking lack, you're going to find lack. But if you're constantly focused on success, abundance, freedom, the world will bring you what you want. It's an abundant world. And when you're focused on it, the problem is, as human beings, we just live in lack and limitation. And we also get in our own way. That's a big thing that I see a lot.
In saying that, Rick, we now need to turn our attention to two big things, right? Number one, Rick, is how people can connect with you, how they can work with you directly. And is there anything that's coming up in November and December on like your business, on your coaching programs? Please share.
So yeah, like I said, you can reach me through the website. There's all my contacts are there at amplifiedmindset.com. Sometimes I work with one-on-one, but I do a lot of group coaching now. I do work with employers and their employees and working this program through. And basically, I think we have at the end of November, I've got a masterclass coming up, and then we're going to do a second one at the end of the year. Because what I like to do at this time of the year is do something called Jumpstart the New Year, and really start to get people into motion, to thinking differently now, not wait till January to, make, New Year resolution. Everybody does it. But here's the thing I want you to start thinking differently about. Your New Year starts now. I mean, we're at the end of the year, so now's the time to do it.
It starts right this moment. It starts the moment you think that something's new is going to happen and something's you're going to overcome. So yeah, it doesn't, no one cares about the date. What you care about is what you do on that particular date where you're living and breathing, right?
Yep.
In saying that, Rick, we have to go to the rapid fire now. So I'll ask questions. You just go out as quickly as possible. Morning or night person?
Morning.
Great. Favorite productivity tool or habit?
So my favorite one would be, I have a millionaire mindset morning routine, which I can also give you as a free tool that I use to really start my day. Because if you own your morning, you own your day.
That's great. One book that changed your mindset.
Oh, there's so many, but I'll tell you one that's a simple, fun read. It's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. It's a really good book to make you start thinking more deeply about where you are and where you're going.
Wait, hard work or smart work? I'm going to grab that book, by the way.
Definitely smart work, because I've done hard work, and hard work is hard, and smart work is way easier.
And last question for our family, and which is, what does empowerment mean to you?
So empowerment to me is really being in control. And we've talked about that whole alt show, is really being in control of how you think, because your attitude is made up of how you think, how you feel, and how you act. And if you're constantly aware of it and not becoming unconscious of your conscious thoughts and being in control of how you talk and the words that come out of your mouth, most people run around not conscious to what's going on. Some people talk, and when you hear them talk, you're like, they're not thinking, they're just talking. So really being aware of your thoughts at all times and not falling unconscious to that. That's really what empowerment means to me.
I completely agree. Completely agree. In saying that, Rick, it has been a pleasure to have you on our show. Any last things you want to share with our team and with our audiences?
Now, listen, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. I just want everybody to know that in anything in life, if one person can do it, anybody can do it. So if you're ever doubting yourself, or you got that voice in your head that doubts you, just remember what I tell you. You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it.
Absolutely. And it can be achieved then, right, Rick?
Right.
Again, saying that, thanks a lot for being on the show, brother. And yeah, so every week when we come on these episodes, who's watching this show right now, is our goal is to inspire, educate, and change who you are, right? And I believe today, as episode would have left you, well, yes, I can change. I can go to the better place in life. So I really like us to share it with someone, or share with Rick's profile with someone who might need his service, because sometimes people or men, they don't say what they're going through. But if you feel someone's going it, get them Rick's number. He's going to help him out, because he has done it all by himself first in the first place, right? So in saying that, what we really want to do is end the show on a higher note, but I'll see you next episode again, right? Thanks a lot.
Success isn't for the chosen few. It's for those who choose to show up, take action, and never back down. This is the Empower Entrepreneur, hosted by Rohit Soni, airing across 185 countries, 26 plus TV networks, and 100 plus podcast stations. You've heard the strategies, you've seen the mindset. Now it's time to execute. I'll see you next week, every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. Go, build, dominate. Until next time, stay empowered.